Had to go get more welding gas. We gotta make an exhaust today. Oh yeah. Shit boy down. You ready for the exhaust? On the mobility scooter, we gotta do the exhaust and intake and wire it all up. Boom. Fucking ready to bing ding ding, you know? Actually, it's more like, I think this is a 4-stroke. 4 strokes for more folks. Let's get this big bitch in here. Welcome back, you guys. Next on the list is we gotta do the exhaust, and I'm gonna do a custom pie cut exhaust, just like on the racing mower, and it should be pretty easy. It doesn't need to be very long or anything like that. And I'm gonna show you guys how I make my pie cut exhaust, all the way down to the measurements and everything that I use. So you can, if you have a chop saw or a band saw or something, some stainless tubing, you can do it at home, and a TIG welder, I guess. I'll show you guys what I'm thinking for the exhaust. All right, so this is where the exhaust comes out of the engine. So I already made this little flange piece off camera, so what I want to do is I kind of want to come up, and I want 2 side exit exhausts. So I want to come out here, and I want to tee off down here, and then have another side exit over here. I originally wanted to go like up over here and then out the back somewhere or underneath, but there isn't much ground clearance underneath for the exhaust. And with this whole kickstart and everything, it's just too much shit in the way. So we're gonna do dual side exit exhaust. Now this is just a little practice piece that I had laying around the garage when I first got my TIG welder. Probably not gonna use this piece, even though it does work pretty good. Like if I line it up there, I just need a couple pie cuts on this end for it to be flush. I mean, I could use this, save me from cutting a bunch of pie cuts, but I still gotta cut a bunch of pie cuts for the other side, so I'll show you guys how I cut pie cuts. Okay, let's make some pie cuts. This stainless exhaust that I'm using, it's 1.5 inch outer diameter. I like to use a pair of calipers just so I have a more precise measurement. I measure it at 38.2. If we go half of 38.2, which is 19.1, I'll set my calipers at 19.1. So sensitive, come on, right there, 19.1. I'll lock it in, 19.09. Whatever, good enough. And so this little part that sticks out the bottom here, what you want to do is on your piece of tubing, you want to find halfway, like if it's sitting on a flat surface, you want to find halfway up on one side, and then 180 degrees, you want halfway up on the other side. So you want, say, a line here and a line here. So I use a clamp, I'll hold it on a flat surface, make sure it's not teetering or anything like that. So then I'll hold this part of my caliper on the table, and then I can make a line just with this part here. So I go like this, make a line there. I'll do the same on the other side. To make sure that line is straight all the way across, what I usually do is I just grab a piece of angle iron, because it's a perfect 90, it should be a perfect 90, and then I just hold it on the line. I hold it on the pipe like that, and then I just draw a line. I got a line there, and then a line on that side. Now I'll show you the rest at the saw. All right, so I'm gonna want a 15-degree pie cut. So you take your 15-degree pie cut, and you're gonna have a cut on each side of it. So you want each cut to be a 7.5-degree cut. So you take your if you want a 15-degree pie cut, you just divide it by 2, and then, you know, there's 7.5. So I have this thing, I set at 7.5. Now on here, I obviously don't have, 7.5 degrees or whatever. So it's already at 7.5 degrees. So what I did is I just took my square. So I know this is straight, the outside. I put this here, butted it up against the square. And if I go up, boom. Perfect, 7.5 degrees. A 15-degree pie cut, it'll take you 6 pie cuts to make 90 degrees. So here's just an example. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would be over 90 degrees, obviously, right? So these are 15-degree pie cuts. So if I would have left this one out, it would have been 90 degrees. So that's what we're making. Now, how I made these lines halfway up both sides, So what you want to do, so you want to take that measurement, which is like 19.1 or 19.2 or whatever halfway is, so I guess 3/4 of an inch. So you want to, on your backstock, you want to measure up 3/4 of an inch, and then same with this piece here. So when you put your tube in, you want to line that line up like that, clamp it there, make a cut, and then after you make your cut, before you make the second cut, you want to rotate it 180 degrees and then line it up there. So let's cut some pie cuts. All right, there's our first pie cut. So you have 7.5 degrees on each side. The thinner this part is, the tighter your 90 will be. So I made it fairly small. It's harder to weld when it's really small because there's not a lot of material to weld to. We're working with pretty small area underneath there, so we need some tight 90s if we're gonna make a 90. So 6 of these will create a 90-degree bend. So we'll just keep cutting a bunch of them, see what else we need to cut. Maybe we'll have some straights in there. All right, I got 14 pie cuts. So the first line that's on there, I have 2 lines, right? So that first line is that width. Second line is that width. So I made some a little bit thicker. Now, usually they don't turn out this rough, but my saw blade is really, really dull. When this saw blade is brand new, you don't even have to clean these off after. They're good to weld right after, but I gotta clean a bunch of these up, so I'll just sand them down and then we'll start designing how we want the exhaust. All right, I got all my pie cuts done and cleaned up. Now I have the piece that's coming off the engine. I took it off. This piece that I wasn't gonna use, I'm gonna use it because it actually, the angles that it's at works pretty good. So I'm just gonna tack it on there and then we'll put this back on the scooter and we'll see what pie cuts we need to add to make this work. Okay, so we got it on there. I can play around with these pie cuts and move them, and you can kind of see how the tip changes. So I put little lines roughly there so it'll come out the side. It's not perfectly straight up and down, but I can always add another one. Like, I don't want to stick out the side of the plastic. If I have it stick out a little bit, then because the sides can flex a bit, probably get away with welding those on. So let's tack those on and see what it looks like. Okay, it's looking pretty sick. We got lots of clearance. If we put this cover on, got clearance there. Might have trimmed that a little bit. If we look in here, I got lots of room. I forgot that this flared out. So we could add a couple more pie cuts to that, get it closer to that plastic, and then it flexes. So we can probably have it go through, and then when I want to take it off, I can just flex it out a bit. Yeah, we got lots more room. Let's add some more pie cuts. Okay, we got that last piece on there, and we'll go just straight through just a little bit, just poking through. So I just need to cut a hole in the plastic, and then should be home run from there. Ooh, check that out. It's almost perfectly centered. Come on, get off of there. Get off. So it's all just tacked on. I'll probably weld this up just so I know nothing's gonna shift. And then we could tee off somewhere here and go that way for the other side. So normally you would back purge this with argon just so the inside doesn't get all crusty or anything. I don't have any more gas in my one argon tank for back purging. So for what it is, it'll be fine. If this was going on like a nice motorcycle or something or whatever, you'd always want to back purge it. Just for this project, we'll just weld her up. All right, let's get to welding. One thing you want to make sure you do before you start welding it is you want to go over with some acetone, go over the whole thing with acetone to make sure it's nice and clean. And for this, just because I don't have any big gaps. I have some minor gaps, but for the most part I don't have any gaps, so I can weld this autogenously, so it's without any filler rod. So you're just melting the two pieces of metal together. So that's what I'll do. All right, I gotta make the part that tees off for the other side. So I made this little piece, and I'm thinking I'll just tee off there. So I need to drill a hole. Oh my Lord, Jesus, mother of God. Scared the goddamn shit out of me, man. I gotta drill that out in there. And then we need to weld this thing on there. And then we can start going on the other side. So it's looking good. We got clearance all the way around. What I'll probably do is I'll probably take 4 or 5 of those pie cuts and I'll just weld them together, because we got to start bending towards this way, and then we'll hold it up to here and we'll see where we need to go from there. Check that out. Shit. So I made a little line there. It's kind of crooked, but I'm gonna line those up, tack her on, and then we should actually be able to add like a fairly straight piece and then some more pie cuts to get it to this point to the other side. Not looking too bad. Since I'm using my welding table, I had to rig up this contraption. So that's where the exhaust is, and we need to get through this hole. We'll add a couple more pie cuts and maybe some straights. See if we can get it lined up with this hole. Alright, it's looking pretty deadly. Now I just need to, I'll weld it all up, and then about there is where I need to trim for it to come through the cover, and then we'll see what it looks like when it's done. Looks pretty sick, man. Sick dick. Got the exhaust done. Now I just want to make some kind of stainless dress piece for over top of the plastic, so it looks cool and it'll kind of protect the plastic. Not really, more so just look cool. So I kind of made that design. I'm gonna cut it out of stainless. We'll see how she goes here. Here goes nothing. Come on, baby, don't screw up. I really wanted to make it out of stainless, but because I don't have big enough plate to really cover that hole and have it be centered. I think I'm just gonna make these out of aluminum. I can make them bigger. Same thing, but just bigger. Alright you guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you like how I made the exhaust. I think it looks pretty good. Leave a like, drop a comment if you know a better way of doing some of these things, because I'm still learning. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. But if it ain't upgraded, you gotta upgrade it. See you guys in the next video.